Applying to internships position can be an intensive race. Between the CVs, the cover letters, and the interviews, there is not much time to think about your own interests. But what if taking your time was actually the key to find the right position for you? Welcome to What's Next Finland, a podcast series of 6 episodes that will tell you all about living, studying, and working in Finland. My name is Noémie. I have been living in Finland for about 4 years myself. And in this series of podcasts, we are discussing topics such as learning Finnish, making friends, looking for a job, or creating your own company. In Finland, internship positions last between 3 to 6 months and are a great way to enter the job market. Keep in mind that the Finnish government does not support unpaid internship, and so the salary must be mentioned in the job offer or during the interview. Today we welcome Nural, an HR specialist working at Wärtsilä, but in the meantime, let's review some of the basic career advice. 1. Think about your own interest. Try to forget about your parents' advice or your current situation. What are you good at? What are you interested to work in? And what are the values you would like to defend in your job? You can discuss this with a friend or with a career advisor, but try to narrow it down. 2. Now that you understood more or less in which field you would like to work, it's time to do some market research. For instance, you can check what are the companies that work in this field in your region. Do they have a website? Do they have a team that is active on LinkedIn? Do your own research. 3. Choose quality over quantities. You might be tempted to send 50 CVs to different companies, but that will not help you receive an interview offer. Now that you've narrowed the field you want to work in, try to compare the job offers with your own CV and to match the experiences. It's also possible to contact the HR or the manager of the team you would like to work with and to ask them about their current projects. 4. Train for the job interview. Ask a friend or a career advisor to train with you, to ask you a list of questions that you might find on the internet or even prepare with ChatGPT, and train a maximum to be ready for any kind of questions and to connect your own experiences with what the company is looking for. These insights come from the many career events and coaching sessions I attended myself. Last summer, I was looking for an internship position and I spent many hours applying and writing CVs. I regularly checked websites such as LinkedIn, workinfinland.com, or the career page of universities. And I also took a look at the Finnish National Agency for Education, also called EduFi, that offers throughout the year different kinds of internships. I applied to many positions and got only 4 interviews throughout the summer, and luckily for me, one of them ended up landing me a position at a Finnish university. It was at the beginning a contract of 3 months, but since I was getting along well with my colleagues, my supervisor was suggesting that we could extend it, and so I stayed 5 months in total. This experience taught me a lot about Finnish working culture and made me discover better the administration sector. It also allowed me to practice my Finnish skills every day since all meetings were held in Finnish and since I had to chat with my colleagues during coffee breaks. I would really recommend you to join an internship program to explore career paths or even to just know yourself a bit better. Hope some of this advice will help you, and in the meantime, let's welcome today's guest.
I'm Nural. Currently, I work in Wärtsilä as a senior PSH specialist, which is a branch in the Human Resources Department. I actually graduated from International Relations and Political Science and started my career in HR. But then photography is one of my biggest passions, so I ran the operations for a Viennese camera brand in Turkey for about 10 years. And now, since moving back to Finland, I figured the distance doesn't make it too practical, and I wanted to return back to something more corporate. So I returned to where I left off in HR.
Okay. And why did you come to Finland then?
In my case, it was my husband who was offered the position. Yeah, he is also from Turkey, so he was offered the position from a Finnish company that works in IT, and we figured we'll give it a try. If we don't like it, we can always return back home. And it's been about 7 years now, so I think we're pretty settled.
It was a good choice.
Yeah.
Okay. You are in charge of internship program in your company, so maybe you can explain what is the company you're working for and what this internship program work like.
Of course. Well, I'm not in charge, although I do support heavily, I will say, but it's a huge team that works behind this. And the company I work for, Wärtsilä, is a global company. Currently, we have close to 18,000 employees in 79 different countries. Finland is the headquarters, so we have the biggest number of employees in Finland in 3 different locations here. So we have offices in Helsinki, Turku, and Vaasa. We have this principle, what we call the Wärtsilä Way, which says we want to enable sustainable societies through innovation in technology and services. So that is what guides all our operations and how we run things and why we do what we do. With the number of employees, we're actually in a position to drive the decarbonization in energy and marine sectors. So all of the positions we have in the company actually contribute to that goal. And trainees are a big part of this because every year we have more and more trainees as far as I've seen. This summer we had openings for 600 trainee positions, which is quite a heavy number. We have trainees in all 3 locations. So we have in Vaasa, in Helsinki, and also in Turku. And we have the option of hybrid work. So our trainees can do almost 80% from home and then 1 or 2 days, depending on the department, of course, from the office. Although we do want everyone to work more and more in the office because it's not just the location that we work in, but it's also the networking and the closeness with the team you have and the coffee breaks with your colleagues even. So that is also important, but we also have the option to stay home if that's more convenient. Let's see, our internship program usually runs from May to September or so, depending on the school schedule, of course. So most of our interns start the beginning of May or beginning of June and then do about 5 months. And the 600 positions are dispersed throughout the whole organization. So we have vacancies in manufacturing, sales, marketing, HR, and all different branches. I have worked for the past 3 years on this program, so I do know a lot of the operations, I will say.
Yeah. So Wärtsilä is focusing on summer internships, not so much throughout the year.
The summer internships are full-time, and we have a bigger number of trainees that work with us. But each winter, we also have what we call an on-call trainee, so people who work part-time up to about 25 hours. So if there is a need in the department and your schedule allows it, then you can also continue summer, winter, depending on the case. Okay. So then the winter internships would be starting from September, October until end of April. We also do sometimes need winter internships from outside, meaning brand new people to join the team if the person that's already working in the team is not available, or we need more hands on deck, depending on the case.
Reassuring a bit for the Finnish market.
Definitely.
And actually a question that a lot of people ask themselves when they apply for an internship or a job position in general is it possible to apply even if they are non-Finnish speakers? Like, can you work in English in Finland?
Like myself.
And that's a really good example.
Yes, well, there are certain positions that, of course, require Finnish or Swedish. Like one example could be maybe the legal department. Then you would need to know the law or be more hands-on with the language. But for most of the positions, English is enough and sufficient. And our official company language is English. So any communication that comes, any emails, trainings, all of that is done in English. And as said, I'm one example. I work in human resources and I am trying to learn Finnish, but it is a hard language. And I have colleagues in Poland, Sweden, our managers in France. So our day-to-day language is English.
Yeah, you should watch our previous episode where a Finnish teacher was like, I will break the myth that Finnish language is difficult.
It is very similar to Turkish, actually. Really? Like the grammatical rules are very similar, but then the words are different. And here everyone speaks so well English that I have to say I'm maybe lazy, or like it's just more convenient to switch.
Yeah, definitely. And if you work in English, then you're like, oh, it's difficult to think I will spend so many hours learning a language that maybe I will not use so often. Okay, but it makes me laugh. Now we are not allowed to say it's a hard language anymore. He was really serious.
If you spend the time, it's probably not a hard language,
yeah,
I'll say.
Learning Turkish, for instance, I'm not ready to start right now. But I had another question about like the recruitment process, because maybe you were part of the team that reviews the CVs, the cover letters, or asked people to give an interview. And I was wondering, from your point of view, maybe like what catches your attention and what the applicants should work on.
I work in HR, but I'm the farthest from the recruitment process, so I don't really check the CVs or cover letters or such. But I can say that in our recruitment process, the hiring managers, so the manager that you will work with directly, gets very involved. They actually go through the CVs and cover letters themselves, personally also. And then our HR teams are there to support with the decision making, or if there are any questions, or depending on the position, we may do a pre-screening. But for trainees specifically, it's the hiring managers that drive the whole thing, because they know what they need. They know what the trainee will work on and what the responsibilities will be, and the things like that. So they get very much involved. Having said that, a few tips would probably be to keep it simple, keep it readable, and make sure that what you're writing matches the job description that you're applying to or that you have in mind. Because like this year we hired about 600 trainees, but we had about 6,700 applications. So keeping it simple and to the point definitely helps make you raise up among all of those CVs. So if you're applying for, let's say, a finance position and you worked something similar or aspire to work on that, just make sure that you mention it and not make it like one CV for all roles. That I also personally gained from, because when I was searching for a position, reading the job description and making sure that what I did similar and mentioning those helped me out, I think. That's one thing. And then through the process, what we usually do is the application period starts from January and ends usually end of February. We will announce this in our careers website, so if the timeline changes, it will be available there. But most managers just start right away to do the screening and the selection process. So if you have this in mind, make sure that you apply a little bit early. Of course, everyone is usually viewed, and we have even very late July starting trainees. But then those would be some of the tips. The managers do face-to-face or video interviews depending on the case. And in some positions, we also do some video introductions, I will say, for lack of a better term. So you get to introduce yourself with like a 1-minute video or something like that. And if you get such a request, and not only from Wärtsilä, but I will say from any company, just be yourself, because essentially that's who you are. And that's, at least for our company, that's what matters, because every individual is contributing to our end goal.
I had this question asked quite often among international circles, is that, okay, let's imagine that I managed to get an internship, it went well, and I would love to consider continuing in this company or in this organization, and what's the best way to show my employer that I want to continue, and maybe suggest them, maybe we could extend my contract or even make it a permanent contract. What would you suggest?
For one thing, as I mentioned, we have the summer trainees who, in almost half of the cases, turn to winter trainees. So there's the option, if the department has such a need, there's the option to continue within the same department. But I would also say that you can keep your eyes open on the careers page. In each department, we have different vacancies, and we have full-time permanent positions, and then in some cases we have like family leave replacements for short-term and things like this. So if there's anything that catches your eye, you can always apply to those. The careers page is always up to date, and we almost constantly have different vacancies. So that would be one option. And then being open with your manager and mentioning that you have the interest to continue, what your plans are, how much time you can spend, and things like that would definitely help. So like if you're graduating in the fall or in the spring, if you're graduating in the spring, then you can mention that going forward, I'm looking for a full-time position. I would like to stay in this department, or I studied this additional thing so I can move to another department and things like that. That would definitely help. And we do have people who started out as trainees and who's been with the company 10, 12 years. So there's always the possibility.
Actually, I have an extra question, because I feel that in Finland, network is really important, and often recommendations. Do you feel that maybe not especially in your company, but that in general it's worth it to ask someone working in the company for a recommendation?
Well, in general, I think network is, like you said, quite important. And in our company as well, we do encourage our trainees to extend their network and use this as an opportunity to get to know more people and new people that are both, could be other trainees in different departments, but could also be experts in their fields, different managers, different teams. So we have, for our trainees, we do have face-to-face in all 3 locations orientations, where they get to meet each other and meet the main teams they will work with. And we also have other events like picnics and cruises. And in Vasa, one of the big things is, I think they have a soccer game between us and a company called ABB. So we do different events. So that's an opportunity. But like going back to working hybrid versus working in the office, coming to the office, meeting different people, meeting other managers from different departments, that would also not only contribute to networking and gaining a larger set of people you know, essentially, but also show, if you're interested in working in a different department, then you make the connection that way.
If you think about extra tips to give to applicants, even if I feel you have given a lot already, but maybe you have some things that stayed in your mind, or...
I think I gave out all my tips. So just maybe to recap, I think the customization of the CV is quite important. I didn't feel it as such a strong need when I was in Turkey, but in the Finnish market, it's definitely needed, because we have, well, what I always hear is there's a huge number of unemployed internationals. We all apply probably to the same positions, and we need to stand out. So customizing your CV definitely helps. Networking definitely helps, and showing that you care and being hands-on. So like for our trainees, none of them just sit idly watching others do the work. They all do the work. They all contribute. Like in our team, our trainee does pretty much everything that I'm able to do. So it's a great learning opportunity, and it not only helps with your career within Wärtsilä, but hopefully onwards as well.
Okay. Maybe an extra question, if it's okay for you to share it, is about how yourself you got the position at Wärtsilä.
Of course. I mean, I call it a miracle because when I was, well, we moved to Finland. And as I said, I already had the company in Turkey. So it took me a while to make the decision that, okay, it's time to close it down and focus on my career back in Finland. And in that time, I actually had 2 kids. So there was not only the changing career, but also sort of like a gap. And I did openly mention this in my CV, saying that after my maternity leave, I'm looking back to going to something corporate because I don't want to do the entrepreneur route anymore. So that again is a tip, being honest and open, because I think that helped. After I added that sentence, I got more interviews. Okay. Everyone was saying that in HR you will never find a job without Finnish, like it's impossible. But then I guess it was sort of luck that I came to that job opening, and my manager being in France, she doesn't speak Finnish either. And it's a fully global environment that we have, and we sort of just clicked. So I've been here since December 2021, and I couldn't be happier in a different position, I think. Okay. So I managed to sort of do the impossible, not to exaggerate, but yeah, no one really asks if I speak Finnish, although like in the office, I try once in a while to do the coffee breaks in Finnish and things like that. But then again, it's showing what I can do in general.
Okay. Yeah, and I think also years ago, like, I mean, 2 years ago, maybe it was easier, but we have another guest, and she had to find her job 10 years ago, and she explained that the Finnish market, it was a surprise for a lot of Finnish employees to see someone who didn't speak Finnish fluently or who was coming from another country. Wow, why are you here? But it happens, we managed, and I think you gave really nice tips today. Do you have maybe a final word, or do you think you...
Just be yourself and keep your eye on the internship page we have, so that next year when the applications open, we do get very good candidates. Good for the company and good for everyone, I think. But yeah, I hope everyone that's living here and trying to make a career here gets that opportunity, because the most important is getting the first job. And then I think once you settle in, then it gets easier.
Yeah, I agree. But thank you for today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.